Hello and welcome to Empowerment. Pardon me, I have a mint in my mouth. Um, I'm Kelly Whetstone. Thank you for joining me today. It is 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. And I am very happy to be here today to talk to you and just excited to share some good stuff with you. I have been doing this show since 2010. And over those years, all those years, 16 years, I've collected a treasure trove of wisdom that I refer to when I'm writing this show. And today the topic is laying the groundwork for demonstration. And what I mean by that is manifestation, if you like that word better. I like the word demonstration because manifestation is like, to me, manifestation and creating are sort of equal. We're not creating anything. Creation is done. Everything exists within us because we're the individualization of source. So, what we're doing when we're bringing something that we desire into our physical expression is we're demonstrating what already is established within us. So, so, and I'm not in the teaching segment yet, but I just wanted to say that. And I went back. So I'm looking through my notes you know, for wisdom, because I use my teachers and share my teachers with you, the people that I found so important and so valuable to me. And so, I don't know, I just owe a lot of stuff to people that lived, some of them at the very beginning of the 20th century. So in looking through my notes, I found this note from the universe. I used to get notes from the universe, Mike Dooley, every morning. And somehow over, moves and just life and, computer changes and stuff like that, I just stopped getting them. So I I would sometimes they were just priceless. And this I had to laugh because it was perfect. Absolutely perfect for what I want to talk about today. And it said, and this was in 2018, a note that I got from Mike Dooley in 2018. And it said, your invisible limiting beliefs, Kelly, are only invisible when you live within their limits or when you keep on doing what you've always been doing. Push yourself, Kelly. Dare yourself to think bigger, to reach, and to behave as if a dream or two of yours has already manifested. Then you'll see them, meaning the invisible limiting beliefs, pop out of the woodwork as if painted fluorescent orange, loaded to the teeth with logic, imploring you to turn around and go back to safety. Do something. Do it today. Something you wouldn't normally do, like maybe take off early from work. And then he says, did you see a couple of them? Meaning that logic, those limiting beliefs. But that's the truth of it. That's ego, really. We want to do something different. We want to move ahead. We want to get out of our comfort zone. And man, ego pops up just with her hair on fire, going, oh no, don't do that. You can't do that. That's dangerous. Something might happen to you. Go back, sit on the couch and eat bonbons, if there's such a thing as a bonbon these days. But that's it. Ego is small, small, small. It is not creative. It is it's a construct, as Alan Watts would say. And it is the culmination of your experience, your filters, other people's opinions. It's your self-concept. It really is your self-concept. And that's another thing that's going to kind of show up in our teaching segment today. But when I taught at the institute, the very first class that I taught, beginning meditation, that was part of our welcome speech, so to speak, to the new students. It's like, if you're moving ahead, you're doing something positive for your growth and for yourself. In that case, it was learning to meditate, expanding spiritually. But this happens even if you want to buy a new car or decide you want to Yeah, you wanna say you just that's a great example. Say you wanna buy a new car. So you start thinking about that and, building in your imagination your ideas and your ability to have a new car, and the one you're driving breaks down. That's resistance. That's also ego. And that's like, "Oh, now I gotta fix this car, so I can't buy a new car." It's all that. It's that kinda stuff, limiting beliefs. Um, but But, you know, when it came to class, we would always tell our students that, you may, as you get going, you may just think, "Oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to go to class tonight." It's that kind of stuff, the excuses, the things that come up that again would just keep you at home and safe, quote unquote safe. Because ego doesn't like you to buck her, I say her because I'm a female, doesn't like you to buck the system. If you stay right there, you're controlled, you're small, but you're safe. But you're not. You're not. We're here to grow. We're here to evolve. We're the individualization of source. LIFE, capital letters. Life never stops. It never stops. It's all about expansion. And all we have to do is be the channel for that. Be the instruments, the vehicles for it to flow through. It's already doing it. You know, it's already doing that. It can't stop. So if we just agree, get on board, and get out of the way, amazing thing happens. Amazing things happen. So anyway, got a little off track. That was a little preview. Um, this show is streaming live on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Empowerment with Kelly Whetstone. I do not do readings on the show, but if you would like a reading or healing from me, you can find me every day on 12listen.com. I'm usually available later morning Pacific into the evening Pacific time. Into the evening. If you don't see me or I happen to be busy, schedule a call, put in a callback request. I'm notified right away via text, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We also have reduced rates on calls and chats a few times a week on 12Listen. Typically Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, new and full moons in the 12th of each month. But if you want to be notified of our specials, just go to 12listen.com and sign up for 12 promotions. While you're there, post what you're grateful for on the gratitude board. It's a way for us to support you and celebrate you, what you are grateful for, whether it's something that is in your experience or something that you're looking to bring in. So I just want to say now thank you to Serena for producing the show today. And I got a lot to talk about. So let's move into the teaching segment by listening to a few minutes of a lovely piece of music called Dancing for a Vision by David and Steve Gordon from the Buddha Lounge 3 CD and Sequoia Records. Enjoy it, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to Empowerment. I'm Kelly Whetstone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that music. I thought it was a nice segue into, just a little energy shift into the teaching segment. So, as I said a few minutes ago, I want to talk about laying the groundwork for demonstration, not just demonstration. And I talk about demonstration a lot, and um, and it's interesting. The things I love to talk about are resistance, supply, demonstration. They're always kind of the same thing, but um, they kind of all pull, so to speak, from the same pool of information and wisdom that I talked about from that I've learned for years and years. But it's an interesting thing because I think when we I think we can look at things very matter of factly. In other words, that there's a method to do this. There's a method for demonstration. There's a method for, um, being available for our supply. There's a method for um, detachment. But there are basic principles, yes. But the thing is that we're all individual people. We're all individuals. There are no duplicates, no duplicates at all. And we're all in our own evolution, and no two people are in the same place in their evolution. And God always meets us where we are. So, there's more to learn than just, okay, if I say these affirmations or if I have this visualization, sometimes we exclude ourselves and where we are in our lives and in our evolution. So that's kind of the beginning of what I want to talk about. We are self-complete and self-contained. The kingdom of heaven is within us, and so is everything we could possibly desire. Everything comes through us, or better said, through our consciousness of the truth that it exists within us. Consciousness is cause. Consciousness is cause. What we see outside of ourselves is the effect of our consciousness, the effect of our beliefs, what we can have, our so good, bad, or indifferent. Those are still what we see outside of ourselves, still the effect of consciousness. But to pull from within ourselves, again, the kingdom of heaven, the spiritual storehouse, that's where it is. We have to become the thing that we desire to experience, become in our consciousness, in our vibration. So today, I want to look at things that support us in demonstrating our good and also things that impede us. When we decide to bring something new into our lives, our first step is to go to work on ourselves, period. It's not the affirmations, it's not the visualizations, it's working on ourselves. Because if we did not have to have work to do, if we did not have to change something in ourselves, such as, you know, beliefs, change limiting beliefs, like Dooley, change our limiting beliefs, or just limitations to release, or revisions to our self-concept, etc. The thing we desire would already be in our experience, right? If we could quote unquote have it, we would have it. As I said, affirmations, visualizations are not going to bring it in until you match its vibration or until you can quote unquote have it. And that doesn't come through formulas, but through growth. And growth begins by accepting what is in your experience and accepting yourself right now in present time, because this moment is eternity, right? This is all we got. This is all we got. Every present moment is the only thing that is alive, the only thing that we are. The past is dead, gone, and over, and the we that we were in the past are dead, gone, and over. So if you are making something or someone in your experience bad or negative, you are empowering what you don't want. If you want to be rescued from your present predicament, you are focused on what you do not want and therefore empowering it. You cannot move past anything you cannot accept. It is what it is. And if, sometimes we empower negatives to prove our point that we deserve something better, right? I think we might do that a lot, actually, until we know that that's not the thing to do. Um, but right now, let's just talk about, in a neutrally and objectively right now, what is happening right now, where you are, so that we can accept it. Life happens constantly. Nothing is static. We are constantly evolving and constantly having experiences that add to or change our beliefs about life and about ourselves. And every other person on the planet is doing the same thing. Constant movement, constant motion. Think about it. Think about things that you used to really love, right? That were really fun, like maybe someplace you like to go and listen to music. It was always great. They had great bands. And then after a while, you go and just the thrill is gone. Let's put it that way. And that doesn't only happen in relationships. The thrill is gone, but in places, things that we love, things that we're crazy about. I can remember, this is a strange example, but I can remember when I was 18, there was a place in Golden, Colorado called, oh heck, after the gold rush. That's what it was called, after the gold rush. And it was a 3-2 place. So if you weren't 21, you could go and drink 3-2 beer and dance. And I love to dance. I've always loved to dance. So my friend Lisa and I would go and we would I think you had to order a beer. I think that was part of the deal, part of the price of admission or whatever. I would order a beer and it would sit on the table all night long. I might have a sip or two out of it, but I wasn't there to drink. I was there to dance. So we just had this great time. And one of my favorite memories that comes into my head every time I hear the Eagles, Take It to the Limit, is driving home after dancing like crazy and hitting Jack in the Box for one of their tacos at like midnight, right? And that was just the best dream. And I remember Jack in the Box doesn't exist anymore and hasn't, well, maybe it does, but not in Denver. They used to be all over. Um, but I remember there was one way up in in Wheat Ridge or some odd place. So I thought, and this was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. I thought, I'm going to go get a taco from Jack in the Box. It was the worst thing I've ever eaten in my life. It was horrible. It was just it was awful. And so that's what I mean by we change and our likes and dislikes change because we're not the same person we were when we woke up this morning. Right now, we're not that person. That person's gone. And we have to allow for that. I think we don't think about that or we don't realize that. But if we can just give ourselves the grace, you know, of allowing ourselves to just be who we are, where we are right here, right now, um, we're a lot better off. We're just a lot better off. And as Stuart Weil would say, some days we wake up and we are brilliant, and some days we wake up and we're just not. And that's just called being in an incarnation, being human, um, or being in a human body. So, um, so we have to think about, who we are now And if our back to the topic, and if our desire includes another person, who they are now. For example, if we want to mend a relationship, sometimes it's difficult to understand why a person is not the person they were when you met them. But you have to realize that you're not the person you were either when you met. And the big realization is it's impossible to go back there. It's impossible. You've grown past it. But you can bring that relationship into present time by accepting the other person and yourself for who you both are now. Just having who you both are now. Excuse me. Relationships are living things in and of themselves. They change and evolve because we do. And in order to keep them healthy, we have to give ourselves and the other person permission to change. We have to flow with it. If we dig our heels in, we're stagnating thing. We are stagnating a living thing, or we are being a stagnant thing within a living thing, within a relationship. Being attached to the way something or someone was is unreasonable. And it's a recipe for suffering because you want something to be or someone to be different than who they are. That's why we suffer. If we just go along, we're much better off and we're available. We're available for for what this lovely relationship is now, for what this lovely person is now. And that brings and really and truly, if we stop being attached to what we want, if we want it to be what it was in the beginning, it just brings up the question, can you have the other person? Can you have yourself for the people that you are now? That's the question. If you're so focused on how good it was and how much you want it to be back there, you're missing the point. Really, you're missing the point of who you are now. And people, we outgrow people. We do. We evolve past people. We cannot stop our evolution. And no two people are in the same evolution. So we have to respect and and accept that other person's evolution as much as we have to our own. And there is no fixing the other person because you can't do that. You cannot fix another person. You can try, and here comes big suffering when you do that because there's nothing wrong with the other person. Everyone's in their own evolution and they are perfect. They're where they are supposed to be. Because again, we're not our minds, our bodies, or our emotions. We are the individualization of Source. And that which lives us is God. And God is having this grand adventure as you and me in this physical plane. And the more we just go along with it, the better off we are. So there's no fixing another person. It's only accepting or not and going from there. I mean, really, and going from there. In my education, when I was at the Institute, if a person came in and wanted a relationship, if the relationship, having a relationship, let me put that in English, if having a relationship was the intention, the focus and the coaching, so to speak, on demonstrating that relationship was demonstrating a thriving, flourishing, healthy, supportive, mutually beneficial, loving relationship. It was not on bringing a person into their lives. It was not on that person. It was on the relationship. And again, mutually beneficial, loving, supportive relationship. Relationships are a circle, and each partner has to show up for the relationship to be successful. So, if you're looking to mend a relationship, focus on the health of the relationship and be unattached to the result. So, acceptance is the first step. Now let's look at some other things that get in our way. And this follows along with last week's show on, on letting go of useless stuff. We only have so much space in our space. Our space is our consciousness. And if that space is taken up by thoughts of fear and lack or unforgiveness, of judgment or criticism, and at the same time, we want to manifest money or a relationship or anything else, we are double minded and nothing is going to happen but frustration. Because what we believe, what we have the consciousness for, is what we will experience. It cannot be any other way. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "You combine with what you notice." If we're focused on our problems, we're not available to their solutions. So it's not just believing we can have the thing we want, but clearing our consciousness of what we don't want. Unforgiveness is a big one. Unforgiveness has kind of been a theme over the past few shows, I think. No matter how justified we are in not forgiving someone, we only hurt ourselves. We only hurt ourselves. We forgive for ourselves, not for the other person. We forgive for ourselves. And my favorite quote from Joel Goldsmith, "Only that which I release can be released in me. Anything that I hold is held against me. Whatever you release, you are released from. What you cling to is that which is binding you." Excuse me, you are your own liberator. So, a good question to ask in a meditation is, what is binding me? What belief is holding me back from truly being what I want to be? Excuse me. My voice is a little wonky. I apologize. What belief is holding me back from truly being what I want to be? What is affecting my self concept? Self concept is what I accept and agree to as myself. What am I agreeing to? What am I accepting as my self concept that I need to change? That it takes courage to look at that. I mean, it truly does. But I'll tell you what, it's a life changer. It's a life changer because we're not small. There's nothing small about us aside from what we believe makes us small. Again, we're it. We are master and commander. Everything, our life is lived. We live our life from the inside out. We do. And we can change anything. And that's the most beautiful part of it. We can change anything. So, aside from unforgiveness, judgment and criticism bind us. Stuart Wilde said, "When we judge anything, we drop to the level of the thing we judge." And of course we do, because we cannot recognize in another what we are not conscious of. It's impossible. So we really do ourselves no favors by criticizing someone else. Because for every negative thing we say or think about another person, our stream gets muddied, our peace gets disrupted. And that negativity sits in our consciousness until we clear it out. It's cause and effect. It's instant karma. It's instant karma. Florence Scovel Shinn calls them boomerangs. When you throw a criticism or an insult at someone else or a judgment, it's going to come back. It's going to come back to you. We give what we get. We get what we give, I should say. So, another thing that binds us, and this is a biggie, is our story or our stories, because we have stories for all different things, right? We have stories for our career space. We have stories for our relationship space. We have stories for all kinds of things, everything. We have stories because we have a history. We've lived, we've had experiences. So if it's an unhappy story or one that in any way portrays you as a victim, it's important to stop telling it. We will never get past it if we continue to tell it. It's difficult to bring something new and different into your life if you're dragging your past with you. Referencing the past just pulls you back into it, complete with all the negative emotions that you experienced. It is not worth it. Stories, also known as beliefs, appear in many different areas of life. And what they turn into are scapegoats for what doesn't work for us. Think about that. Think about that. Scapegoats. Excuses. Excuses. They're things we blame. And blaming anything, even if it's something that happened to you a few years ago, disempowers you. It totally disempowers you. So, again, let's take relationships as an example. Say you want to manifest one, you want to demonstrate one. A good place to start is by asking in a meditation, what do I believe about relationship? What do I believe about myself in a relationship? Really having a neutral look at your past relationships and forgive everyone involved, especially yourself. Especially yourself. And what you're forgiving yourself for is let's see if I can put this into words. Well, you're forgiving yourself for whatever you need to forgive yourself for, but it's like this happened. How could I let that happen? How could I have been so stupid? Blah blah blah, right? And so what those questions like that, right, are telling you what your self-concept is. And actually can direct you into what the things you need to look at and change in your self-concept, what you accept and agree to as yourself. But if you have judgments, opinions, and fears about relationship based on your past, they are taking up space in your space. Now, this is really, really important. So, that forgiveness part is really important. Processing your feelings, processing what you believe about relationships is very, very important because if a relationship happens to come in before you've dealt with that, before you've released that, it will most likely look like the past ones. It will because it has to match your belief about relationships. It has to. We can only live what we believe. So that's why this work, laying the groundwork for what you want to manifest, demonstrate, is so important. It's like you're clearing the field for something new to grow in it. And it's really important. And yes, it's work. It takes time. It takes, as I said, courage to look at some of that stuff. But if you want something different, you can't be the same you've always been. You can't expect um, you can't, you know? It's like doing whatever that thing is about insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. It's kind of the same thing. Actually, it is the same thing, but it's not insane. Um, and that could be an incorrect quote. But anyway, we have back to stories. We have stories about money. We have stories about our bodies, about how intelligent we are or aren't. And when we address the beliefs, judgments, and stories that are limiting us to release them, what was negative in our experience becomes the fire of our purification. And I love that. The fire of our purification is or are those things that we do have the courage to look at and realize what they are and release it. Let it go. Sacrifice it. Even if it takes that sacrificing it, offloading it, whatever you want to say, casting the burden of it a million times, a million times. We have to do it because we're clearing our space. We are the individualization of source. Negativity has no power other than the power we give it. So it's good to stop clinging to it and become free. We want something more and better, but we cling to the excuses of why we can't have them. That's what our stories are. basically, or a good portion of them. Those excuses are roadblocks, taking up space in our space. And the more space we have in our consciousness, the more good it can hold, and the happier we are, and the more confident we are. Neville said, again, Moses stated, I am that I am. Now, here's something to always bear in mind. You cannot put new wine into old bottles or new patches upon old garments. That is, you cannot take with you into the new consciousness any part of the old man. All of your present beliefs, fears, and limitations are weights that bind you to your present level of consciousness. If you would transcend this level, you must leave behind all that is now your present self or conception of yourself. To do this, you take your attention away from all that is now your problem or limitation and dwell upon just being. That is, you say silently but with feeling to yourself, I am. I am. Do not condition this awareness as yet. Just declare yourself to be and continue to do so until you are lost in the feeling of just being, faceless and formless. When this expansion of consciousness is attained, then within this formless deep of yourself, give form to that new conception by feeling feeling yourself to be that which you desire to be. You will find within this deep of yourself all things to be divinely possible. That's beautiful. That's Neville Goddard. Once you have the feeling of being the thing you desire, once you've got it, you continue to go into that deep, as Neville calls it, and feel yourself to be it. You just return to that feeling. You nurture that feeling, but you detach and leave it to the infinite self to manifest. And this is where faith comes in. You are already it. That which you seek, you already are. It is established within you in consciousness, and it will manifest because you are conscious of being it. That is what you nurture. You nurture your consciousness of being that thing that you desire. So while it's cooking, so to speak, in the process of becoming, it's important to take whatever action steps are necessary, not to take over or make things happen. That's not your job. That is not your job. But to affirm that you already have your desire, and it's not through words, it's by nurturing the feeling of it and following the intuitive hits that you get. That's your action steps. As you know, something is this is it. This is what's in the process of becoming. And you get little taps on the shoulders or some way, somehow you get direction to do something. And you just take that step. You become, then it becomes the dance. You and God in the dance of demonstration, and you follow. You just follow. So we have our part to do in the demonstration process, but we don't take it over. We follow. Letting go of every belief that contradicts you being your desire is primary. Action always precedes demonstration, and the word action covers a lot of ground. Action steps are demonstrations of faith on our part. James 2:26, faith without works is dead, or faith without action is useless. Whatever we want to demonstrate in our lives, whether it's something in the material or a better version of ourselves, takes an investment of faith plus action. Whatever we desire exists within us, but we have to act with singleness of mind to demonstrate them. Time in the deep within fertilizes the soil for the seed of intention that is growing in your consciousness. That time, that quiet time of just feeling and being in the arms of God is priceless. it's just priceless. It's life. It really is. The action steps you take are investments in your desire. They show that you're serious. And detachment at the same time, being detached, having the faith that this is in process, that this is mine, this is part of me, and soon I'll see it in the physical. That also it shows that you're serious, and those things yield results. Don't spend time in meditation, invest time in meditation. Invest your attention in things that lift you up, that inspire you, because they create beautiful space in your space and attract beautiful things. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. That's how you prepare your consciousness for the realization of your desire. U.S. Anderson said, thought plus faith equals demonstration. And I want to end with Ernest Holmes, from the Creative Mind and Success. Mm. He wrote, in the center of your own soul, choose what you want to become, to accomplish. Keep it to yourself. Every day in the silence of absolute conviction, know that it is now done. It is just as much done as far as you're concerned as it will be when you experience it in the outer. Imagine yourself to be what you want to be. See only that which you desire. Refuse to even think of the other. Stick to it. Never doubt. Say many times a day, I am that thing. Realize what this means. It means that the great universal power of mind or consciousness is that thing that you desire, and it cannot fail. We cannot escape the fact that we are made in such a way that at every step, life is a constant choice. What we do need to do is to select what we feel to be right and know that the universe will never deny us anything. We choose, and mind, capital M, or consciousness, divine consciousness, creates. We should endeavor to choose that which will express always a greater life. And we must remember that spirit is always seeking to express love and beauty through us. If we're attuned to these and are working in harmony with the great creative power, we need have no doubt about its willingness to work for us. We must know exactly what it is that we wish and get the perfect mental picture of it. We must believe absolutely that we now have it and never do or say anything that denies it. There is no way under heaven whereby we can think two kinds of thought and get only one result. It is impossible. And the sooner we realize it, the sooner we shall arrive. All is mind. Universal consciousness, not universal consciousness, divine consciousness. That's my interjection. All is divine consciousness, source, God, life. And we must provide a receptive avenue for it as it passes out through us into the outer expression of our affairs. If we allow the world's opinion to control our thinking, then that will be our demonstration. If, on the other hand, we rise superior to the world, we shall do a new thing. That is powerful. That is powerful. And actually, I have a few more minutes, so I'm not going to end quite with Ernest Holmes, but that was from The Creative Mind and Success. And the two Ernest Holmes books that I love that are on my desktop are The Creative Mind and The Creative Mind and Success. They're two very small books. They're wonderful on Audible, but they're just power packed. And Ernest Holmes, um, I don't know, they're Ernest Holmes and Dr. Irvin Seal. When I read them, there's such a warmth to the way they write, the way they talk. It's like I feel like I kind of have a warm chenille blanket. Just I'm cuddled up in it as I read them because that was so beautiful. That was so beautiful and so eloquent. And really and truly demonstrating anything is falling into flow and into harmony with that infinite mind. You know, there is no negative. You know, all is mind, and we must provide a receptive avenue for it as it passes out through us into the outer expression of our affairs. That is happening constantly. We are the instruments of Source. As I said a minute ago, we are the vehicles through which it is experiencing and expanding and and becoming more of itself in through and as us in the outer plane. It has to have us to be in the physical. So, but again, this sentence is a powerhouse, or this last statement, I should say. If we allow the world's opinion to control our thinking, then that will be our demonstration. If, on the other hand, we rise superior to the world, we shall do a new thing. Well, I think our circle's complete for today, for this teaching segment. And I hope you enjoyed that. You've been listening to Empowerment. I'm Kelly Whetstone. I wish you a very, very blessed week. Thank you, everyone. God bless.